a W at the end of Ravens season, and we sit and watch teams like the Colts and the Chargers go bye-bye, and we got to watch Tom Brady play this week and hope that when we get to Super Bowl 53, Luke and I are not enduring Tom Brady 5 stories high in the media center in Atlanta 2 weeks from now. But the end of football season also brings basketball season, and it's especially fun when the Terps are doing well. And they are doing well. They were at least doing well until they urinated away a 20-point lead against Wisconsin on Monday night. I follow this guy out on social media for comedy, for poi and poke recommendations in the Hawaiian Islands, as well as occasionally football recruiting. But right now we're going to focus on Maryland. My Maryland. Top 25, my Maryland. Maryland, what the hell happened at the end of that game? They almost lost, Mike.
Well, long story short, Bruno got in foul trouble. He was really controlling things inside, particularly on the defensive end. Had some NBAS block shots there and sort of let the Badgers know about it, too. Badgers, we don't need any stinking Badgers in the paint. So, Ethan Happ really had a rough night trying to go against he and Jalen Smith. But then when Bruno went out, seems like offensively, and stop me if you heard this before, the offense sort of got discombobulated, went about 10 minutes without a basket, and Wisconsin, which was 0 of 9 from three-point range in the first half, knocked in 11 in the second half. So, that's the formula to get you back in the game. And then, again, stop me if you've heard this before, Anthony Cowan saves the Terrapins bacon there, and you got to put him up there with some of the all-time clutch players in the history of Terrapin lore, I think. People complained he wasn't shooting a great percentage from three this year, but my gosh, in the clutch, that guy is getting it done.
Well, we would probably just go back to Trimble and say he was that guy. He was the guy draining a three to beat a ranked team on the road when you needed it, and it's very well established here. We're only 5 games into conference. We're not even to the conference championships in football. Whenever that moment comes for this team, when it really matters, and look, they're probably going to lose a couple of these games. They're going to win a couple of these games. I would hope at this point they're in the tournament. If they're not in the tournament, it means something really went wrong with Fernando and Cowan and Sticks and all of these guys, and certainly for Turgeon at this point, based on the trajectory of this team, how they've looked, and where the expectations are for them will be met on Monday when they get to East Lansing. But it's going to go through him, and the night he doesn't play well in March will probably be the night they're eliminated, right? I mean, let's just call it what it is. That's usually the way it is with guards at this level, and a guard that can hit that kind of shot, that wants that kind of shot, that has that Steph Curry blankness about him when he hits that kind of a shot, and it might not even be right at the three. It might be 5-6 feet behind the three, where it's just going to go up and it might come down. That he's fearless. We know that much, and I think they're fearless around him. And when there's 4 seconds left and they're down 2 and they need a shot, they're going to be scheming for him, and everybody's going to know it.
Well, yeah, to a point, I agree with you, Nestor. But there's the big difference for me in this year's team is, well, the level of talent has gone up with this freshman class, but in terms of that, they've got so many more shooters on the floor. Now, I know we still got. The only thing I could think last night, you talk about the ups and downs of a team playing, 5 freshmen in their rotation, and you think from game to game, my gosh, what are you going to get? Because some nights, we saw it with Jalen, against Indiana, just sort of disappeared in that game, and so you always wonder game to game. Well, last night we saw it from half to half. I mean, on Monday night it was just a bad situation there.
Well, you can say the same thing about Cowan in Indiana. He did not have a good first half, and then was incredible in the second half. So this is a very streaky team, and that's got to stop. I mean, got a 20-point lead at home. You put it out. Win, go home.
Well, I like what the other freshmen bring. Aaron Wiggins is a knockdown shooter most nights, and Sorrell Smith has come on so strong, and I really think they've got more weapons, and I can't say enough about Eric Ayala. That guy has never played like a freshman, and so there's 3 weapons on the perimeter, I think, and then when you've got to concentrate on stopping Bruno down low, I think it really puts some pressure on the defense when Maryland has all their pieces. Now Jalen, he's already hit a game winner, so I think these Terps are a little better equipped to weather this stuff, and now maybe that they've been through it a couple times. When I think back to that horrid ending at Purdue where the offense just completely self-destructed in the second half, but particularly down the stretch where they couldn't even get off, a tying 3-point shot of, that it had a reasonable chance. And I think, you forget that there are 5 freshmen playing, a couple of sophomores, and then Anthony, who I think struggled a little bit earlier this season, but now has found his way and is picking his spots better and really is playing at as high a level as just about any guard in the league right now. So, I feel good about this team. I've seen the defense improve. Ricky Lindo has been a real surprise.
I was waiting for that. Because I had circled Lindo because I talked to Robert Kennedy, obviously, and Luke, on the backside of the game. You can hear those chats up in the BuyAToyota.com audio vault if you want to hear us babbling on about the 19th ranked surging Terps who almost lost the game to Wisconsin the other night. But it is exciting, and Lindo, for me, he has this Mouton thing, right? Like there's this instant shot of lightning bolt of energy on the court, and he's really only out there to be a massive pain in the ass for the other team. I mean, sort of this Dennis Rodman sort of weird role, right? It's kind of fun to watch him play, and when he comes on the court, I know there's going to be energy.
Well, he's an inside-out guy. His versatility, and for Turgeon, he thinks of that more in terms of defense, but you got to remember the foul trouble they got. Lindo's the guy coming off the bench now to replace, Bruno or Jalen. And I think that's a tough situation to put him in, but we all see what he does. He makes things happen. He gets his hands on the ball. He scraps and fights and gets rebounds. Mouton is a great comparison, but he's like Mouton 2.0 because he's so much bigger.
Sure.
Yeah, and I didn't list him initially because I don't think of him that much as an offensive guy, although he's got that in his game. But you're right, just the energy he brings to that team when he comes on the floor is a wonderful thing. And he's definitely a key guy, and he just came out of nowhere because this is a guy that was, for up until the middle of the summer was going to be playing high school basketball again this year. And you think about where he is now, he didn't even get in school in time to go on the Italy trip in August, which, I think you can't talk about this team without talking about what that did for these guys, getting a chance to mesh together with so many new parts in the system and giving Cowan a chance to work with these guys. So this isn't, in some ways, it's not your regular, hey, we've got all these new guys, because they had a little bit more time together in the summer than most teams get. And I think that is really coming to the fore now as you see how well they're playing, getting into the heart of the Big Ten schedule.
No one knows more about the Terps than this guy, Mike Ashley, here from Terrapin Times. And, of course, you can follow his journey as well. You're doing a bunch of comedy out there, and one night maybe you and I should get on a stage here in Baltimore, work some comedy together. But, from the Terrapins' perspective and the grand scheme of what Turgeon has tried to build in the new building, away from the legend of Gary Williams, in the Big Ten, not in the ACC. This is where I see empty seats in the building. I see my timeline not really electric with this. Even when I talked to Luke a little bit, he was lukewarm, on the Terps before this thing started to begin. And I guess this is the point where there's no Ravens, no Redskins, no Orioles or Nationals to talk about. The Caps are who they are, and the Wizards are who they are, where that if you're a traditional sports fan in the DMV, you may turn your lonely eyes to this program right around now, right? Right around, Friday night they're playing, Monday night they're going to Michigan State. They rank, this would be a monumental, this would be a Duke-Maryland kind of matchup. And I'll get to Duke losing to Syracuse in a minute for your pleasure, Mike Ashley. But for the whole program and for somebody like you at Terrapin Times, along with the Kavanaughs, you guys have covered this thing forever and ever. This is where you want to be, thinking we could be a 3 seed or a 4 seed and maybe raise hell and maybe win, go to the conference tournament and be something here. Maybe this is the group, and if not now, when? Because it feels to me like Fernando's not around here long, right? Or maybe Sticks as well, right?
39 scouts were there for the Indiana game. Not just for the Maryland guys, but 39 NBA scouts were there. Personally, I got to meet Bob McAdoo, and I had one of those Chris Farley moments. So when you guys when you were with the Lakers and you won those championships, that was great.
That happened to me with Paul Rogers from Bad Company. Yeah, so I understand. It happens. We all have a moment. We all have a moment.
Yeah, you're right. But I think when I watch games on TV, Nestor, the crowds aren't this.
I was going to say, somehow I knew just what to say to Bo Derek, but I apologize. Go ahead. You can keep going.
Well, I was saying I don't think attendance is just a problem at Maryland. I think college basketball.
Oh, how about college football and pro football and pro baseball
and
pro hockey?
The golden age.
Man.
But you're right. This Maryland team has a chance to recapture the imagination of the student body and make it an event like it was. It was just an afterthought. Gary at the end didn't have great teams every year, but people just came out because that's what you did if you were a Maryland student. And I tell you what, when you fill the building with students, that makes the alums and everybody else want to come back because it's such a fun atmosphere. So, I'm still optimistic that they can get that back this year. 6 home games left here. Being ranked and a chance to continue moving up the polls. Yeah, this is a team and a young team, a team that's I think hasn't approached its ceiling yet. So this sets up as a even. I thought this would be a fun year. I thought there'd be more ups and downs to this point. So they're already in some ways exceeded my expectations. I just hope they can hold it together down the stretch. Don't let all these guys hit that freshman wall at once.
Well, the Orioles' greatest hit this summer is going to be Billy Joel on my mom's 100th birthday. And Billy Joel plays the Garden every month, and he always brings a celebrity on. 1 month it's Sting, and you never know who it's going to be, right? And kind of the Terps are getting there now too, right? I mean, they bring Jalen Hurts in from Alabama one night, Cal Ripken the next night. You never know who's going to show up down there. It really is. You're trying to build something there, right? And now you get Loxley on the backside of this embarrassment by Alabama, and you are one of those guys that covers college football maybe even more closely than you cover college basketball, to be quite honest, through all of your travels from Radford and beyond, and you work both sides of the big part of college sports. This is a point where Alabama's quarterback walked through a Maryland basketball game with Alabama's offensive coordinator who decided to sign up with Maryland, who still does play Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State and everybody else every year, and they still have some UA money and whatnot lying around. I would say reports of the demise of the football program a little early, but this is a fascinating turn that Loxley, if I'm going to bring you into this, we can sit here and talk basketball, which we're going to do for a while, but the football thing here, when you're bringing Hurts in and that's on SportsCenter and you're winning and you're getting ranked, you talk about turning the team right. I thought to myself when I saw that kid and I saw the pictures popping up on Friday night, I thought to myself, what would make the Maryland football program really much, much better? Better players, right? You know what I mean? So,
right.
That's kind of where I'll leave it and let you pick up from there. How about that?
All right. Well, yeah. People forget the first half of that Indiana game where Maryland was just absolutely getting waxed, and I didn't tweet this out, but I joked that Jalen Hurts probably thought he could come here and play basketball too at that point. So maybe that was a good thing recruiting wise.
Maybe he thought about Cowan, man, maybe we need a better point guard than this, But then he saw the second half, right?
All right, get off Anthony Cowan. I'm
not on it. I like Anthony Cowan. No, okay. I'm not a hater at all, man. No, not at all. I see signs of Steph Curry, and he doesn't. He gives 0 Fs, and I like that about him. So that makes me.
I love the Maryland students' reaction to Jalen in the stands. There was he was sitting behind one basket there near press row, if you're familiar with the layout in the arena, and across the way, which is of course the wall of students. They had a sign there just for Jalen, right in his. Jalen could not miss that sign. It wasn't on the side; it was right in front of him. I thought that was brilliant position. And of course, there were a couple of chants requesting that he cast his lot with the Terrapins. But
did they sing "Sweet Home Alabama" to him at any point, or no?
No, I don't. Hopefully not. But there's Jalen Hurts or no Jalen Hurts. I really think Kasim Hill, who had a definite sophomore slump, has got a huge upside, and you're anxious to see a new guy, Loxley, get his hands on a player like that and tweak him back to where we think he all can be. And I almost hate saying that because that's selling Tyrell Pigram short, because I think Piggy can be a success, in this league too. You can scheme for a guy like that. Look at Kyler Murray. The size doesn't really matter if you've got some skills like Pigram has. So I think it's very exciting. I think the thing that gets me really excited, though, having now been a guy on this beat, not a Maryland guy originally, but on this beat for 20 years, Loxley, the way he interacts with the fans, he's got a real sense for, he's a Maryland guy, for gosh sakes. When's the last time Maryland had a Maryland guy? Ralph Friedgen, right? So that worked out pretty well, especially early on, where he was able to galvanize everything and get it all going in the right direction. And that's what Maryland needs more than anything else. And I really think Loxley can do that. I'm sort of concerned that the coaching hires haven't been coming fast and furious at this point, but maybe there's more due diligence involved than I thought, and I really do think the people he has put in place are going to be good for the program, and I think he salvaged a little bit of the recruiting year already, which was a major concern with the way things turned over this year. And hey, I really do think Loxley's the right guy right now for this.
Mike Ashley here from Terrapin Times. We're talking all things Terps as the Terps take back to the floor in Columbus, Ohio. Oh, how we hate Ohio State. And then, of course, after that, up to East Lansing to take on the mighty Spartans. I always love saying Spartans. It's cool. Before I let you poop on Duke, I'm going to give you a chance to poop on Michigan State since they are the Duke of our conference at this point. Some thoughts about Michigan State and thoughts about what this week represents for Maryland, and to bring the whole thing down from 100,000 feet to this week and where Turgeon is. Ranked team, haven't lost this year, 5-game winning streak in the conference, notwithstanding the couple of games back in December. And now you go into the teeth of this thing on a cold weekend out into the Midwest, where if you're going to be a top 10 team, you're going to go beat Michigan State. If you're just going to be hanging around, you're going to go out there and lose, and you might go out there and lose big. I don't know. But this is a weekend where the mettle is really, really tested. They held off Wisconsin. They came back against Indiana. They've held serve in the early games here. This would really show everybody something, a nice week here, right?
Yeah, Friday at Ohio State, which is a tough place to play traditionally. So they're 8-2 at home this year, I think. And then Monday at Michigan State, and they're 9-0 at home, and technically atop the conference right now, even though Michigan, I guess, number 2 Michigan is also 6-0. Yeah, and Michigan State is one of those teams. It doesn't matter what they're doing right now. That come the last weeks of February and into March, they're going to be playing their best basketball. That's just what they do, So yeah, in terms of like the team to beat in the ACC was Duke there. I always think. And to me, I got to admit, when I see Indiana, come into Xfinity and those long red and white striped pants that they've been wearing since before I was a basketball fan. I remember those from the Bobby Knight early years. That I get excited to see them come in, and I know right now they're not playing particularly well, but it's Michigan, so I guess Michigan and Michigan State are the teams to beat. And you know what? Those are the only 2 teams ahead of Maryland in the Big Ten standings right now. So who would have thunk that, coming into the middle of January? So the Terps are positioned well, and we're going to see about those freshmen here. This is definitely the toughest back-to-back road stretch they've had all season, because they've only had really one other, and that included Rutgers, so you have to kind of throw that out just because of that.
Mike, I know you're doing some comedy, and you do some other stuff and some other newsletter work out there as well as Terrapin Times. Tell everybody what you're up to and where people can find your unique offbeat sense of brand of comedy.
Well, if you're paying the money, you can be on Terrapin Times. We have the magazine, and we also have a strong online presence, and there's no better information about the Terps there. So and you get that by donating to the Maryland Athletic Program. So that's a good thing for Terps fans to do right off the bat. Otherwise, you can find me at the RothReportOnline.com. RothReportOnline.com. That's Bill Roth, who's a TV presence himself and was a longtime voice of the Hokies. My roots are still down around the Beltway in Virginia. And I'm trying to get bigger and badder on social media like you, pal. So I'm at large sports writer. That's at large sports writer, sort of a play on words there. And large sports writer is baseball box score abbreviation. There are no vowels in there. And in fact, we're missing an R in sports. So it's actually large spots writer, but it's too late to go back and change that now. So at large spots writer.
At large spots writer. Mike Ashley, who's got some comedy as well as some travels. By the way, I've been all over the world, right? But I've never been to Hawaii. And the reason I've never been to Hawaii is, I don't know, I've been to Tahiti and I go other places, right? Hawaii feels so American to me. But every time a friend goes and the pictures come back, and I've always... In the 52 weeks of my year, every other week, someone, a friend, a family member, my cousin was there when you were there. My wife's cousins go twice a year, every year, and spend 2 weeks there, and we get pictures of various things, including tsunami warnings once in a while as well. You take the good with the bad when you're
doing a cannonball in the pool.
You take the good with the bad when you get the palm trees. You know what I mean? Yeah. Along with the palm trees come the ants and, the lizards and all the other things that come along, and the snakes and all that. Hawaii, give me like 2 or 3 good things about Hawaii. You got a place I should eat. You got a place I should go. You get a pretty good time over there, dude.
Yeah, and well, this was a special circumstance. My daughter and her husband are now living in Hong Kong, so this was like a neutral site for Christmas for us and the in-laws.
You ever been to Hong Kong?
No, but that's the next bucket.
You are really missing out. I've been to Hong Kong. Hong Kong's awesome.
Well, if I could, the first part was to see if I could ride a plane all the way to Hawaii, which I did. So now we can negotiate about Hong Kong.
Are you afraid of flying, or just don't like long flights?
No, I'm afraid of having my rather large personage in one of those airplane seats for 18 hours. That's the part that bothers me.
Understood.
So,
take a book.
Yeah,
take a book.
Anyway, this was we met on. We were on Kona for most of the time in a rental house there with a view of the ocean that was just breathtaking. Our own pool there, and we had a blast with that. But
see, you were in Kona, and I was drinking the Royal Farms Kona Blend coffee at that time.
There you go.
Baltimore.
We brought some of that back. Yeah. And but the big thing for me, I went early with my side of the family and got to do Pearl Harbor, which was on my bucket list.
Oh, cool.
I highly recommend that. Although I got to admit, the Arizona part was down at that point, closed for repairs for the last several months. And well, I hate to be flip about this. My original reaction was, well, haven't they had 80 years to fix it? No, the white part over the iconic part where you get to walk out above.
I'm hearing there's some other federal things that if you show up today, may or may not be open for public consumption.
Right. Well, this was unrelated to that, but anyway, it was still the boat trip out there and seeing that, and if you're red, white, and blue guy like me, you're just you can't help but get a little choked. Here's the part that got me. I was fine with that. I was thinking about it because you got to think about Pearl Harbor in context. Even if you didn't lose anybody in your family at Pearl Harbor, that event affected every family in this country.
Well, everything that ever happened in the world after that, quite frankly.
Well, right, but I think specifically for all of us in this country, it changed everything and galvanized in a way that had never happened before, I don't think. And it's really a thing. And I was fine. And then but me, I'm a sports guy. I get into the whole team concept. So then when they told me that of the survivors from the Arizona, the ones that weren't killed there during the bombing and the attack, that still to this day, as people are passing away, they have the remains sent there to be with their buddies in the harbor there. And that's the part that got me.
Well, they say a day that will live in infamy. Here we are, all these years later, and you went halfway around the world, and I don't think you can go to Hawaii and not see it, be a part of it, and you want it to be open. Get to Wally World, You want the park to be closed, right? I mean, that's
right. But Hawaii is 5 islands, so there's a lot to see. I've been to 3 of them now, and I went to Waikiki, and that skewed a little young for me. The only good thing was that I could walk out the door right to a fabulous, I think it was called Cheeseburger in Paradise of all things, and it was a sports bar, and so I could watch the games out there at 8 o'clock in the morning for a 1 o'clock game here on the East Coast. So that was kind of fun. Breakfast at Wimbledon sort of thing, I guess, huh?
Nice, and no doubt in sandals and palm trees, and poi was served. Mike Ashley here from Terrapin Times. You can find him at Rob Report as well as at Terrapin Times, and as we mentioned before on Twitter, at Large Spots Writer. At Large Spots Writer. Is that good?
No vowels. Yes, just baseball box score. Come on, Baltimore's a baseball city. This isn't hard, you know?
Baltimore's a Billy Joel city.
The biggest free agent acquisition for them this offseason, no doubt. Yes.
You want to be a big shot, didn't you? Okay, all right, we got to go. Enough jokes and puns. We have all summer to make Billy Joel puns, right? You know, we can
exactly.
You come up with a few, and I'll come up with a few, and go sleep on the river.
We'll go
dreams.
to town.
All right, well, uptown. There he goes, Mike Ashley of Terrapin Times, doing all things Terps football, basketball, a little bit of Pearl Harbor conversation, and you can find him for comedy as well. He is a new world man indeed. You can find me out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere that you are in the world. I am Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.